What up? What up? It's Ibn Webb, Ib Webb, Quran and some here. Another go around with this official thanks thing here. Doing a Essex County all day edition here. The fan in me, the little kid in me might come out here. This is one of those individuals where growing up, just watching him, just do his thing, what have you here, just made me realize your dreams come true in regards to whatever you're looking to achieve in life, whether it's athletically or whatever the case may be here, whatever you strive to be, you put yourself in the right situations, you overcome some things, but your dreams could definitely come true here. And Anthony Avent is living proof for that. Definitely a superhero, just myself and probably to many others, growing up here. Like I said, I am totally just again just taken back by everybody just willing to jump on, talk or what have you here. But like I said, I'm gonna try to keep my fandom at a minimum here. But like I said, I'm just taken back and looking forward to this and to talk to Anthony and trying to and just go from there. So just hold tight. Yes, yes, yes. Anthony, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm Ibn here. How are you?
Eben, I'm well, thank you.
Good, good.
Sorry yesterday, man. Lost all track of time.
Man, life is crazy, man. I totally get it, man. I totally get it.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so yeah, nah, like I said, thanks for just taking time out. Like I said, I know, when you're scrambling, a lot of things going on here. So I really appreciate this. So I won't try to abuse this time I have with you. So like I said, more or less cherish it here. So
it. Okay.
yeah, just for everything, man. Like first and foremost, hopefully you and your family, everybody holding up with all the stuff going on. They talking about things coming back and all this. Hopefully everybody's all right, healthy, everything there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Everybody's good over here. Hope the same is on your end.
Nah, nah, definitely nah. Everybody's holding up, maintaining, man. So I know what you doing with yourself these days.
Man, right now, it ain't much I can do other than just be patient.
Okay.
Working with my son and a couple other youth in the area
Okay.
in regards to the game of basketball, not just from my youth and skills, but just all aspects of the game, the sport. Um, whether it's advice, whether it's young man looking to get into coaching,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's parents trying to figure out what's the best route when it comes to sports and education. And really taking and keeping a close eye on what's going on and the changes with the NCAA as far as athletes being able to utilize their own image rights and licensing for the better use of just their career, because most of these guys' careers are their college career.
Mm-hmm.
Most, that is their prime.
Mm-hmm.
Their plan and earning years will be in college. So to take advantage of that is critical.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And I know I just been seeing a lot of that. Obviously, is well overdue. And I'm sure just imagine like even when you were playing, like even back at Seton Hall, what have you, if you had that opportunity. So I know this is long overdue. And to your point here, see where this thing go here, because I think these student athletes should be, being compensated for who they are and what they do. So, and to your point here, some of them don't get past the college level. So they again try to just maximize whatever they can, while they're there. I mean, I think it's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just to even go back a little bit here. So are you from Newark? You was raised in Newark? I mean, how did it come
Well,
about?
I was in Newark, I guess as early as 3 months old. So
Okay, okay.
I consider myself from Newark, although I was born in North Carolina.
Okay.
Um, I was pretty much brought here so early.
Yeah.
Uh, I consider myself raised, born in Newark. But yeah, Newark is where I'm from.
Okay, okay. The one thing I don't do too much crazy like research and all that. I mean, some things I do know, but one thing was cool. We October babies. I'm an
Absolutely.
October baby too, so October's very
Absolutely.
own here. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, being in Newark, what part of Newark were you grew up mostly at?
I grew up, spent most of my time, my years in a neighborhood called Little Bricks
Okay.
on Irvin Turner Boulevard, it used to be called Waverly Avenue. It was changed to Muhammad Ali Avenue.
Right.
So Muhammad Ali and Irvin Turner Boulevard, Little Bricks.
Okay. Now I know
Yep.
exactly what you're talking about. And then I know, as far as with basketball, was that your first calling, or did you enjoy any other activities of sports or what have you?
I thought my first calling was football. I thought it was going to be Tony Dorsett. Uh, growing up back in those times, football was everything. It was more glitter, more glam. Basketball, you just had a ball in your hand.
Yeah.
With football, you had the pads, you had your helmet.
Mhm.
You had a regular helmet, then you had the air helmet, you had the water helmet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all that equipment just made it feel and seem so much bigger. And just the nature of the game, the hit, the contact, that was prevalent throughout the city, as well as my neighborhood. So football was what first caught my attention. And football was mainstream. It was on television, Howard
Right.
Cosell, Monday Night Football.
Hmm.
Basketball started populating on TV a little later in terms of live.
Yeah.
Football was always there. Monday Night Football was huge. So, and back then, I didn't know much about basketball cards. When you
Okay.
bought cards, it was either baseball or football.
All right.
So it was just a whole lot of integration that would lead a youth into the football space growing up during those times. And Pop Warner was huge.
Mhm.
I don't even to this day, I don't think summer youth basketball has ever caught up or measured up to Pop Warner football in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That was around forever and still huge.
Hmm.
So we played street ball. There wasn't a whole lot of leagues growing up unless you were really, really good and was able to play for an AAU team.
Right.
That wasn't typically the standard for a 10, 11, 12-year-old just to find a summer league team in a neighborhood and play in a structured league like it was when it came to Pop Warner football or baseball. That was standard all around the city. So football was what I first saw.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned Dorset here. So was you nice?
I mean, I could have been.
Yeah.
I could have been.
Hmm.
The athletic gifts that are required were there, but
Hmm.
then you have to be positioned correctly.
Right.
So someone like me, growing the way I was growing, I was way out of position. I
Yeah.
need to be a quarterback in hindsight, or a tight end in hindsight,
And then yeah. Yeah.
or something along those lines on offense.
Hmm.
So not developing the skills to play those positions, and then getting older and bigger,
Yeah.
you find yourself not loving the game as much as a player. And then obviously you start playing basketball and you're like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
And that was that.
Now, did basketball come naturally to you, or was it something you had to work at?
I mean, you had to work at it, but it came natural.
Hmm.
I had to work at it, of course,
Okay.
from a skill standpoint. But as far as just athleticism, running, jumping, hand-eye coordination, um, I was never clumsy on the basketball court for a big guy
Okay.
at a young age. So those things, I don't know if it was because, growing up in a city, everybody was outside. So
Hmm.
you was always running and playing, and you were developing coordination skills the day you was able to just go out and run on the playground. So as I morphed into basketball, there wasn't this coordination issue. And
Okay.
for a big guy, I could run
Hmm.
um, and jump. So for me, that was the natural parts. Everything
Okay.
else you just work at.
Mm. Now, would you start playing at? I know you mentioned leagues were a little scarce back then. Did you
Mhm.
start playing a little bit in leagues, or was it just around the way?
Oh, so I was fortunate growing up in Little Bricks because we had a playground right in the middle of the field.
Hmm.
And when you grow up in projects, You know, there's hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So the playground is always packed with people playing. So you didn't have to search out competition or sit down and watch and look at how people played the game, be engaged. So it's always there. It was just a matter of just picking up the ball and wanting to compete. And more than anything, in the inner cities or suburbs or anywhere, it's just you wanting to compete, no matter what the sport is. And if you want to compete, there's going to be people there ready to challenge you. So you got to want to compete. A lot of people don't want to compete. So they just sit and watch, or they just shoot around. And when it's time to play, they go have a seat and say, nah, I don't want to play. But you got to want to compete. So always like competition. So that was the first step.
Nah, definitely. And I mean, and I know as your name just start buzzing and everything else here it was there was no denying that you was going to Shabazz, or did somebody try to pull you somewhere? I mean, you know, especially now, you know how crazy it is with the parochials and prep schools. But did you know
Yeah.
you was going to Shabazz back then, or did somebody try to pull you away?
Well, initially coming out of West Kenny Middle School,
Hmm.
you know, the neighborhood middle school, you naturally focused in on what high school you're going to. So for me, I thought I was going to Central
Okay.
because I went to West Kenny, and that's where the majority of the people were going from Hayes Home and Stella Wright
Hmm.
that were at West Kenny. They were all going to Central. So I naturally figured I'd be going to Central. Then once I realized I was going to Shabazz, okay, I'm going to Shabazz. It wasn't until I want to say my freshman year, after my freshman year, and I went and tried out for AAU basketball down at the North Y.
Hmm.
That's when I got introduced to the AAU culture, and I met and got to see guys like David Rivers,
Yeah.
Kenny Wilson, met Mr. Hurley,
Hmm.
and all those guys back in 83, 84.
Yeah.
And it was during that time I got introduced to St. Anthony's, and
Okay.
that was definitely a consideration.
Hmm.
But up to that point, I wasn't a train traveler. I didn't know
Okay.
anything about trains, or everything I did was just walk. You
Hmm.
walked everywhere you had to go,
Yeah.
or you caught the 5 Kenny or the 31.
Yeah. Be
But
on that
pretty
transit.
much
Yeah.
I'm walking
Okay.
downtown, I'm walking to school. So that introduction to this Penn Station and catching trains was foreign to me.
Yeah.
So, and then Newark, especially during that time, the city league, and the history of inner city basketball was really, really, really high.
Hmm.
So it wasn't a hesitation as far as going to Shabazz. So that's where I ended up at.
Yeah, I know. So you get there, things get rock and roll, and you're talking about the city league and all that. Obviously, everybody knows everybody. You know, for the most part, at least you heard about someone else here. Just that experience, just playing against somebody, you know, from crosstown, whether it's Weekway, whether it's West Side, just that whole experience, man. How was it for you?
I think it was incredible.
Yeah,
Unfortunate those who didn't get a chance to experience that due to the death of the city lead. Unfortunately missed out
yeah.
because that was every game was a rivalry.
Hmm.
Um, it was the city league, and there's not many places in the country where your city is big enough where you have that many schools that form its own league,
Yeah.
and all that talent just submerged in one city, and the competition and the proximity, um, whether it's competing in the summer or just knowing you go to the left, Central's right there, and you know most of those guys.
Hmm.
Over here, Shabazz, take 2 steps to the right, you're in the Weekway section. So just knowing those things and knowing the competition, it was something real special to be able to compete in it. And then once you know the history of the city league
Yeah.
and all those who come before,
Hmm.
it just really makes it even more special. So I was fortunate to say I played in the city league before it was banished.
Yeah, and you mentioned this the history. I mean, even in Shabazz itself here with Cleo Hill, you got Lonnie
Mhm.
Wright, you got actually, Lou Grimsley, who's there. I know he split time there and Weekway,
It was
but
a
just
bunch.
names, names, and names and names. And then once you
Yeah,
get there, are you
Monkey.
yeah. Are you
Yeah.
playing you playing varsity right from the beginning? Like freshman
So
year?
my first year, I was put on the varsity team by Robert King, who's the head coach.
Hmm.
Didn't get any minutes, but he saw something and he knew, let me get this guy on the varsity. Let me adapt into the culture
Yeah.
and the environment of what varsity is like. So I was fortunate to 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 be able to live and breathe that environment that early.
Hmm.
So obviously, it just makes the next years that much easier when in terms of competition, what to expect, what it
Yeah.
takes to be able to compete, and then it heightens your own expectations in terms of what you're going to pursue for yourself, in terms of how you're going to pursue the summer, and what you got to look forward to. Um, it just gives you that confidence. So being on varsity that freshman year was it was good for me.
Yeah. Now, how's all the juggling going on? Obviously, you transition to high school, you're growing up, you got the family, you got everything just going on here. I mean, and then you becoming or you are a big deal. Just kind of how are you handling all this? I mean, who's your supports back then?
Well, it was a lot less nutty for me.
Okay,
Um, I didn't have many distractions.
okay,
Basketball is my only distraction, so there was no other distraction.
mm-hmm,
It was 24/7 basketball,
mm-hmm,
school and basketball.
yeah,
If you wasn't in the basketball culture environment, then you really didn't see me other than walking to where I need to be.
okay,
So it was either I'm home or I'm playing ball.
okay,
So that was it. Um, I would say not having video games, of course, not having Instagram, social media
yeah,
devices, and things that could eat at your time and take your focus away, or get you off track and get you off focus on what's important. Um, that those things was tremendous blessings
mm-hmm,
for me to be able to excel and put my time where it needed to be placed from a development standpoint in the game. I mean, I would think the pursuit would have been the same because of the passion and the love for the game
mm-hmm,
and the will and the want to get better. But I can't say completely because this is a new age, a new era, and it is real distractions. Video games are real distractions. You will want to spend time on that, but that's less free throws, less time working on your left,
mm-hmm,
less time working on your triple threat game, your post game. And those times, every minute, every hour matters when you're on that level because you got a small window
yeah,
to maximize your potential in order to make it to the next level, whether that's going from freshman ball to JV or JV to varsity, or
mm-hmm,
from varsity to from the bench to starting or starting to dominating. So there's levels all along the way.
yeah,
And you have to be willing to put that time in, and distractions can definitely derail and slow down that process. You have to have good mentors. And I will probably say guys from the 60s and 70s, just the way the game was played and nurtured, there there were a lot of teachers.
okay,
So you got coaches, but then you have teachers.
mm-hmm,
So when you start looking at guys like Cleo Hill, they come, Artie Johnson, they come from a line of teachers. So they taught you how to play the game.
yeah,
You got X and O's guys, but then you got teachers who teach the skills of the game.
mm-hmm,
That 60s, 70 eras in Newark, it was obvious they were taught the skills of the game. As time went on, you creep more into the 90s, a lot of the teachers started falling off. You had a lot of coaches,
Mm-hmm.
but there's difference between being able to coach a team, putting a system in place, an environment, X and O's, versus teaching someone how to shoot, how to use their left, how to post up. That's skill development teaching. That sort of started weaning off.
Yeah.
There was only a few who could really do it. I was fortunate to have met a guy named Sandy Payanen, um, a little Jewish guy from Hillside who had worked with Edgar Jones and quite a few guys. And he ran an AAU program. He was integrated, and he was very, very skill-oriented guy. His whole thing was about skills, skills, skills. So we connected very early after my freshman season at Shabazz. I met him at the Newark Y
Okay.
doing AAU tryouts, and we connected. And he was the one that was able to harness the potential through skill work, skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then let the passion, the love for the game do what it do. But those hours of skill work, and that's the missing ingredient for those who are able to get to the next level or just dominate on a high school level or play college ball or go further, is the skills of the game that then start separating individuals. And I was fortunate to get the skills very early.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that could be contagious too. I mean, to a team aspect as well, because I mean, those early years, those high school years, those Shabazz teams you were on excelled. They did. I mean, they did fairly well as far as just from the team concept. So I'm sure people fed off of you, and you talk about being locked in as far as just working on your skills and being taught or what have you. Like I said, that stuff can be contagious. You know, you did break my heart. I do have to say this. I don't know. You played Orange High as far as the counties. You won the counties. I think this might have been your last year. That was you and you.
So no, that wasn't me.
It
That was
wasn't you.
that was the team after me.
Okay, okay. My
That,
fault. My
that,
fault.
that had to be Eric Williams and the boys,
Okay,
because
because
we actually lost the county championship to East Orange
okay,
my senior
okay.
year.
All right, that's my
Yeah,
bad because I know I hear Shabazz. I mean, because I know from Al Ray and all those guys here. Like
yeah, he
it's
was part of the team as well. I had
yeah.
already moved on, but Reggie
Okay.
Collins and Al Ray was
Yeah.
all leftovers
Yeah.
after my senior year, so they were still intact. The nucleus was there.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And now I know. In high school, I mean, just with the I mean, again, I know I can only imagine today, but even back then, it was still a little crazy, but not as bad as now. Like making college decisions and everything else, you elected to stay, close to the crib here. Did you have any other opportunities to go somewhere else, or did you want to go somewhere else, or was it important to stay close to the crib?
Well, so now we're going back into the emergence of the Big East,
Yeah, yeah,
because the ACC was the dominant league, as far as I was concerned, in terms of exposure. Being on the East Coast, it was the ACC.
okay,
You had some individual schools who had a reputation, Fordham, Temple, but
hmm
as a conference, it was the ACC. Then you had the emergence of the Big East. So as I was coming up, so was ESPN and the merger with the Big East, and that was the explosion, the Big East. And now all of a sudden there were schools that was literally around the corner,
yeah,
St. John's, Seton Hall, Villanova, and they were prime time and they were winning.
hmm
So immediately my attention started shifting to the Big East. But during that time, because I was playing AAU on a national level, being at the ABCD camp,
yeah,
we wasn't hindered by exposure.
hmm
So the recruitment came from as far as Alabama, you name it. The
okay,
only two schools I can't recall not recruiting me during that time was Georgetown and Duke, but every other school was originally on my list.
Okay.
And I was a big Michigan Wolverine fan because I was into football once again. I
Interesting
was
you say
watching
that. Yeah.
Wolfolk and them cats.
Yeah.
So just getting recruiting mail from Michigan was a big deal. You know, these was
Hmm.
universities that I was aware of
Yeah.
due to football being on TV all the time. I didn't really know a lot of the basketball schools until the emergence of the Big East in the prime time. Because I was locked into college football, and that's what made me aware of certain schools. It was the football. But then obviously, you know, North Carolina, North Carolina State, which are Albano in college basketball. I'm not saying it wasn't huge, because it certainly was. But just from me knowing when the games are coming on
Hmm.
and hearing people in the neighborhood leaving the playground to go inside because Houston is about to play this team and the Phi Slama Jama. So for me, my school was North Carolina State because they had won the championship. You could not help but to be caught up in Javon Vano's passion
Yeah. Yeah.
as a coach. It just came through the TV screen. And I was born in North Carolina. So I was like, I'm going to North Carolina State. Took my visit down there. I was set on North Carolina State and I was set on Maryland. I'd become a huge Bias fan.
Hmm.
And then I was set on Villanova, especially knowing the proximity. They were in the Big East, and then they had that beautiful run with
Yeah.
in the NCAA tournament. I was a big Easy Ed Pickney fan. So that really narrowed my choices down to North Carolina State, Maryland, and Villanova. After Len Bias passed away, that sort of just took my interest away from Maryland.
Okay.
Went down to North Carolina State, and once I got there, just the feeling of I don't know anybody here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Family's from Rocky Mount.
Hmm.
That ain't nowhere near North Carolina State. Raleigh down in that area. So then I took my recruiting visit to Villanova, and that was a strong consideration.
Okay.
I thought about Temple because I was loving Cheney
Hmm.
and his energy, but they weren't in the Big East.
Yeah, the Atlantic 10 back then. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm at the stage where I just started feeling like I felt like I was always a leader, not a follower. So let
Hmm.
me just start there. And I wanted to sort of lead a trend of just staying home as a Jersey player. Because every time I turn on the TV, everybody they would highlight, there was always somebody from Jersey that was on the court putting in work.
Hmm.
And they were at Notre Dame. They was playing here. Because I had thought Jersey had no talent, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Because when I watched the NCAA games, well, ain't nobody from Jersey.
Yeah.
But then when they started catching the beginning of the game and they started announcing the players, they would always say where they're from. And I was like, oh, he's from Jersey. Oh, he's from Jersey. And then I was checking out Billy Thompson and Milt Wagner, the Camden boys, because I was following Louisville. I
Hmm.
was like, Jersey is all over the place. Willie Glass was that same. I'm like, all right, Jersey got some ballers, but nobody stays home.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't know the dudes was from Jersey. And then it really came down to watching the Big East. Seton Hall had a good recruiting class 2 years prior to my senior year with John Morton, Gerald Green, Dow Walker,
Hmm.
and Mark Bryant was 3 years prior to that, coming out of Columbia.
Yeah.
And being in the Big East, I just said, you know what? I want to stay home. I think I can go up here and I could put in some serious work and I can put Jersey on the map. So for me, it was really a local pride thing. I wanted to put Jersey on the map.
Okay.
And the best way for me to do it was to stay here. No one could understand the decision, to be honest with you, because Seton Hall was at the bottom of the Big East. But I had a bit of an arrogance that just told me, based on my class of 87
Hmm.
and looking at the competition and having been out there, I felt I could hang with anybody. So I felt like I could help put Jersey on the map in the Big East. And being that it was right up the street,
Right.
but it still felt like it was ways away because I had never been to Seton Hall until I went to a visit. I don't even remember my visit there. It was. I tell you what, it's not so much Seton Hall recruited me. I recruited Seton Hall.
Okay.
Tell you the truth, PJ Carlissimo at the time, he wasn't even really coming after me like that.
Mm-hmm.
He either didn't want me or he felt he couldn't get me.
Okay.
But it was a brother named Mike Brown who really came after me hard up at Seton Hall. And when it comes to recruiting, coaches have these tiers. If they think you are a high level D1 ball player,
Mm-hmm.
they feel they're more of a in the middle in terms of a D1 school, they won't come after you because they won't waste their energy. So even though Seton Hall was in the Big East, to some respects, if they see North Carolina State, Villanova, the bigger, more elite D1 schools chasing you,
Mm-hmm.
they won't spend their effort and time chasing you because they don't feel they can compete with them. They will focus on the group of players that maybe are not under you, that they feel they can realistically get. So this is why, for the most part, when you look around even today and you see a player of a really, really super high ranking decide to go to a school that's not on that high level, everybody's shocked. Like he signed with who?
Yeah.
What? They all shocked. So when I signed my letter to Seton Hall, I had people pull up in their cars while I'm walking,
Yeah.
and they blow their horn and stop, and they screaming out the window, "Yo, what are you doing? Why did you pick Seton Hall of all the schools?" But for me, it really came down to I wanted to see if I could set the trend.
Okay.
As a Jersey boy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, these are Jersey cats, but these dudes are playing the NCAA tournaments, but it ain't Jersey. Ain't no buzz up here.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay home, and I was fortunate. Like I said, a strong recruiting class a few years prior to my arriving with Gerald, John, Dow. Mark had now left, but a brother named Franz Bosey, who went to Seton Hall Prep, was there. They brought in a brother from Australia named Andrew Gaze.
Yeah.
They brought in my man Ramon Ramos from Puerto Rico. And
Mm-hmm.
these dudes was all hardworking dudes. And what you had was you had D1 players, but a lot of them were late bloomers. And they were still developing while others had already peaked out that may have been top 10 recruits.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time these guys hit their senior year, I walked in as a freshman my first year, and then playing on that team, those guys have been through the Big East wars.
Mm-hmm.
So, your first year, you're able to play and step on the court, and now you're in the Final Four playing for the championship.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how magical was that run?
It was like, yo, my decision was
Yeah.
my decision was the right decision. I went from Shabazz to a year later, I'm in the NCAA championship game.
And
So, and Jersey's on the
yeah.
map, and it was pandemonium up here, and it was a sense of pride, obviously, for everybody in the tri-state, but especially Jersey in this area, to
Mm-hmm.
experience that kind of energy
Yeah.
that we had never experienced since. So that's what I wanted to do, and after that, here comes all the St. Anthony kids. Now they're staying home.
Right.
Guys like Ron Caver, who was a high-level recruit.
Right.
John Leahy. Now recruit became easy. Now
Mm-hmm.
Seton Hall was being picky, and they were turning down and not recruiting really, really good players because they had the pick of the litter now.
Mm-hmm.
So What I set out to do personally, it was good to see how that all came about, but it took a lot of luck.
Yeah, nah. But to your point, how you just laid that out, I mean, it's quite evident how you just folks wanted to stay home or what have you. The question with that freshman year, like, just how magical was that run? You guys are y'all beating Duke, y'all beating UNLV. I know y'all end up losing to your favorite school at the time, your football team,
Yeah,
from Glenn Rice and Ramil Robinson. I hate to bring those names up.
no, it's all good.
Yeah.
We cool.
But how magical is that run for you?
It was a magical run for me. It was probably my experience was different than others.
Okay.
You know, when you're John and Gerald and Ramon and Dow, you done played 4 years. You already been to an NCAA tournament,
Mm.
and you done been through this grind of the Big East and all of that. Their experience is going to be one thing, because for them it's the last go round, and they're
Yeah.
on the biggest stage. For me, it was like it was a whirlwind, because every step was new.
Mm-hmm.
Them going through a Big East season wasn't new. Playing in the Garden wasn't new. Playing in the Carrier Dome wasn't new.
Mm-hmm.
On a hostile environments wasn't new. Um, the energy of the NCAA wasn't new. But for me, everything was like, what's this? It went so fast that without video, I will almost forget it.
Okay.
Remember it, but I will forget all those little steps.
Yeah.
Because once we left the campus, we never returned, because we was gone forever on
Yeah,
that
man.
tournament.
Now
So it
y'all
was
was
just
seated out west, or well, y'all out west, or
seated
where?
out west. We
Okay.
seated out west. So we were gone, and it was just week after week after week after week after week. And every game was bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So there wasn't no time to sit back and do all this reflecting, because you had to prepare for Vegas, for UNLV, or you
Mm-hmm.
had to prepare for Duke. It really wasn't time to like celebrate. Had we been able to come back home like they do today, where they
Mm-hmm.
have more of a lag time between the games, it would have been incredible, because we would have been submerged with the
Yeah.
energy of the area, the environment, with the
Mm-hmm.
people. We missed all of that. We didn't get to feel none of that energy up close and personal. We had
Okay.
to witness it through phone calls, news reports, watching the news,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But we couldn't physically come back to campus and be like, we're in the Elite Eight and everybody's going crazy and feeling that energy. And now they're sending us off to get prepared to play to see if we can get the Final Four. So we missed that. But you guys did.
Yeah. No, we didn't. No, we definitely didn't. And it's just to your point here, like you said, you guys are gone, and you trying to section off like the game itself from your schoolwork to everything. I know they try to do it between like spring break, but in the same breath, I know there's
Nah,
some.
during that time, there wasn't no focus on nothing. It
Yeah,
was
yeah. I
when you
probably
get
would
to
say
the
that.
final 16,
Yeah,
because it goes so fast. You hit 16, you one game from 8, one game from 4, one game
yeah,
from championship.
yeah.
So I tell people the hardest part of NCAA is winning your first 2 games, because by the time you win your first 2 games, go from 64 to 32,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden the field start looking small. You know, you
Yeah,
start off at 64, okay, it's a lot of teams. Now it's 32. You pass 32, uh-oh, it's
mm-hmm.
down to 16 teams. Okay, we got a shot.
Yeah.
Everything start changing.
Okay.
So yeah, the focus was squarely on being prepared at this point.
Yeah. Now you mentioned those guys, Gerald Green, John Morton. I mean, they go
Mhm.
off to the pros, they graduate, what have you. Next year is pretty much, is your show based off that experience. But just
Mhm.
I can only imagine, like, obviously, based on the Final Four run, like, just the atmosphere. Just was there a lot of pressure on you there with these guys leaving and everything else?
Nah, I think the pressure for me was really my first year.
Okay.
because you had all these seniors. Dal Walker was New York City Player of the Year. You had Ramon. They was all seniors. You had Franz Bosi from Seton Hall Prep, who was already there. My man Kaim Long. So they had their pecking orders already in place.
Okay.
So for me, it was, how do I crack this pecking order in my first year? So that's what the pressure was for me. I didn't want to sit on the bench and watch. I wanted to be in the action. So the most pressure I had was that first year, trying to convince the coaches that, nah, maybe you should sit some of them seniors and juniors and give me some minutes. So that's, for me, that was the pressure year. But once I got past that and proved my value to be a contributor to the team, that only gave me what I needed to walk into the remaining years and do what I need to do. So it didn't, even though, you know, you could practice, which is great. You could be there, which is great. But being on the court is something different. It's a different experience. So I needed that experience to set up the next year. So I was fortunate to get that experience in the Big East and in the tournament, and then compete with those guys every day in practice. So I was fortunate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Then to your point, the Big East is the Big East time when you're talking about conferences, especially back then. It was Morning probably was at Georgetown at that time. I'm thinking, wasn't like Derek Coleman was he still around? Did he leave by the time you got there?
So when it was my time to take over, that's when it was Mutombo, Alonzo, Coleman. Those guys was there. My first year out there, it was more, you had, I'm just thinking out loud. You had guys like Dana Barrows over at Boston College. You had Ron Cycli, Bill Winnington. Those were there when I first arrived. Charles Smith. Those guys were right there with Mark Bryant being his last year.
Yeah.
First stepped on campus. So you had that group. But the bulk of my years, it was Coleman, Billy Owens, Malik Sealy, Alonzo, Dikembe, and those guys.
Now you're going head up with these guys. I mean, again, I know you ain't backing down from nobody. I mean, just how was being in the trenches with these guys, going to war against them? How was it for you?
Well, it was great, but that's when I learned. That's when I really learned. Iron sharpens iron. I learned the importance of practice, and I learned the importance of competition on another level, being in practice. If your first, second string down to the 11th, 12th, 13th man, if they can't go, you're gonna have some problems. Because every week during practice, you need them to get you sharp. You need that competition to prepare you for what you're gonna see. So if everything is a breeze in practice, unless you blew out Cinder or you 7-2 with a Sky Hook, or you will, and it's just no matter who you play, they just can't match up physically. You really need to be sharp, but you need those guys on your team to make sure you're sharp. So we were fortunate to have some really strong New York City, Jersey guys who really competed. So by the time we stepped into battle, it was let's just go compete. It was nothing to worry about. You was prepared. And I think that's more than anything, I think that's what gave me the success throughout the remainder of my career. It was those guys in practice who brought it every day and made sure I was prepared and couldn't just sleep.
Nah, you can't get sleep. You'd have got stepped on, sleeping on anybody. Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I know just seeing even Mark a couple of years earlier, getting going in the first round. You see Johnny Morton going in the first round. Like thoughts of professional playing ball, is that starting to just pop in your mind? People coming at you, whether it's agents or the streets or what have you. I mean, did that
Well,
start seeping in? Like, hey, this might be a possibility here.
well, that was planning in my mind in high school
Okay.
because I had to have something to aim for. If I set the standards low, then that's going to have a direct correlation on my own pressure from my own self,
Mm-hmm.
how hard I work, the things I work on. So I had to set my own standards high. So for me, it was always, I wanted to be in the league, I wanted to play in the league. To get in the lead, okay, I got to play against the best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Big East is the best right now. Okay, to be able to shine and prove I'm the best, I can't just be on the team stacked with the best. I got to be able to compete against the best and show it. So
Mm-hmm.
even bringing it down to a micro level,
Yeah.
I didn't want to just go to a school in the Big East that was stacked and get lost or buried or just be one of the guys. I need to find a school where I could be the man
Mm-hmm.
and have to compete against the best and show I go on my own because I'm thinking of the next level.
Okay.
Pro evaluators, who you playing against? Are you able to compete against those guys and do what you need to do? So it's all those steps in my decision-making process, but that started back in high school. I wanted
Okay.
to go pro. That influenced every other decision down the line.
Yeah. And even with that said, when you just heard David Stern and with the 15th pick, like,
Mhm.
how was that day for you, man?
Man, I don't even remember that part.
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
it happened, but
Okay.
once again, the energy, the moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was big.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to just soak it all in. I guess the time I had to soak it all in was on the bus ride to the draft.
Okay.
That's when I was able to just sit back, relax, and sort of think about everything. But once we got inside the draft room, just the noise, the energy,
Yeah.
it was hard to focus on anything other than waiting to hear your name, your
Mm-hmm.
name. That was that.
Yeah. Now, even with that day, do you were you supposed you got obviously you got drafted where you supposed to be? Was there talks you on higher or were you
I
got picked
knew I
kind of?
would fall. I knew I would fall anywhere between 12 and 16.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
I pretty much knew that part.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Okay. Now you learn the business real quick as far as
absolutely.
once you get drafted here. So like what happens even with that because you elected to I think you went overseas for like a
Correct.
year. So like things
Mhm.
just got ugly right from the door, like after getting drafted or
Well, we knew from the get go. Once they made, see, I was drafted actually by Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta made the trade. Milwaukee did a deal with Atlanta to draft me for them in hopes that I would be there
okay.
and not have to wait, and then be gone by the time they picked.
Mm-hmm.
So Milwaukee moved up, but they had also brought in Moses, and we had a hard cap,
Okay.
and you could not exceed cap. That was that.
Mm-hmm.
And Milwaukee had made moves that really left them with little cap space. So we were more like, why did you make a move to move up in the draft to get someone who you couldn't pay what his position requires?
Mm-hmm.
But on that, in those days, teams was more like, that's just a problem we got to work out later because we drafted you. It is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have any other alternatives. It's not like you could just say, "Oh well, I'm gonna go to the Lakers. They got cap space." It didn't work like that.
Yeah.
So you either was going to accept what was available. It wasn't like you could say, "Well, go find some more money." Can't find. This is the cap.
You're right, right, right.
These contracts has already been signed before you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is it.
Mm-hmm.
So either I was going to be buried in a contract that had to play through for years,
Mm-hmm.
or go overseas and get what I was supposed to get as a rookie, let some of those veteran contracts that were due to expire that next season expire,
Mm-hmm.
and then come back and get what I was supposed to get based on my draft position. So that's what I like to do.
Okay. Now, how's that
It was an
experience?
easy decision.
I'm sure it wasn't, because you just mentioned a
You
while
want to be
back.
in the NBA,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
all your fellow rookies. And I've never lived outside the country, played outside the country.
So I was gonna ask you, like, yeah, you up and rooted yourself completely to a whole nother world.
Yep,
Yeah.
sure did.
Yeah.
But those things, it makes you mentally stronger.
Definitely.
It pushes you, even to this very day. That experience gave me a certain level of comfort where I don't have a problem getting up and
Mm-hmm.
moving to a foreign country. This is no big deal to me. Mentally, I'm comfortable with it because I
Mm-hmm.
experienced it and seen it at such an early age. So it just, if anything, it just better prepared me for how I see the world and how comfortable I am moving within the world now versus someone else who may have played in the NBA or not, who only lived in the States or in a certain state all their life. So it just broadened my perspective
Mm-hmm.
um, in ways that's hard to describe unless one's been through it.
Yeah. Now you go that 1 year, then you come back and you get this NBA thing going, man. Just how was the experience for you? I mean, again, just being in the league. I mean,
Well,
again, you already knew the business. You caught that early, but just lifestyle, business, trying to just manage yourself and keep
you know
those
what, man?
values.
All you could do at that point is take one day at a time.
Okay.
All you could do at that now, all you could do is look at it one game at a time,
Okay.
and just submerge yourself um, with your teammates, and you're traveling so much where that sort of takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
That in terms of being locked in, because you're just always with your team,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're in a hotel, whether you're traveling here. So from that standpoint, that lock-in focus wasn't hard. It was, you just have to now adapt to this new competition, this new
Okay.
physicality, these number of games, this lack of grace period where you could just recover and get your body where you need to be before you compete again. So
Mm-hmm.
this more, okay, you're going to go through this learning curve. You're going to hit these walls because your body never been there. Um, you're going to play against some guys that you cannot enforce your physical will on.
Yeah.
And now your skills going to have to come to fruition. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have nights where it just ain't going your way. And you got to mentally know how to get up from that versus previously playing and every night went your way. So you're going to meet these mental and physical challenges, and the strong man going to survive and be able to hang in there.
Nah, definitely. And you figure now you playing obviously full-fledged grown men with mortgages and tuitions, so it's that competition heightens when you got a lot at stake here, especially your lifestyle and their lifestyles as well too. So I know you've been asked some of these questions anyway, but I just a fan moment in me probably too. How was it just playing with Shaq? I mean, two Newark
Oh,
guys.
man.
How was that? Because you was there when he got drafted. That's
Well, I came over there the year after he was drafted.
okay.
I
Okay.
was in Milwaukee the year he got drafted. Well, one thing's for sure, he ain't never seen a human being that big. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
start from there.
Okay.
Just being that big. I remember Luke Wright because he was always with us on a
Hmm.
regular.
Okay.
I was coming up in high school doing all this skill training, but Shaq was just physically imposing. And if you didn't know, when somebody says there's levels to it, there's levels to it.
Hmm.
There was nothing you was gonna be able to do to physically match up with him. You
Okay.
going that way or you weren't.
Hmm.
And that bared itself out no matter who he went against that was 7'2" or 7 feet. He just physically punished them. you just couldn't measure up, but God gave him strength,
Mm-hmm.
size, power, speed, and he had that natural aggression to go with it.
Yeah.
So that was the levels, because I'd already competed against Ewing. I'd already played Hakeem, Brad Daugherty. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
thinking bigger guys during that time throughout the league, because the league was loaded with big guys then that were
Right.
really playing on the box. But you know, the dead weight of guys like Rich Smiths.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but none of that was, you know, Shaq.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Nah, Shaq was Shaq. Now,
yeah,
even while you playing, even in the NBA here, are you? I mean, it sounds like you kind of already, you was a goal setter from back when, just as far as with your life or what have you. Were you thinking about even later on your next steps, because this going to end one day,
absolutely.
or you were just playing and we'll see what happens?
No, absolutely. I always saw the NBA after number of
Mm-hmm.
years. I saw the NBA as another level or step. So
Okay.
now I ain't talking basketball perspective. I'm just talking about life and economics at this point.
Okay.
So I saw high school as the bridge to college, college as the bridge to the pros. So let me back up. High school as a bridge to becoming better economically through college.
Mm-hmm.
College as a bridge to economically becoming better as an adult.
Okay.
Now I'm in the NBA, so I'm looking at it from an economic standpoint. Now that I'm there, I'm trying to figure out what's the next step. Because
Mm-hmm.
in my eyes, I reached that limit economically of what me personally is going to be able to do economically in the
Mm-hmm.
NBA. So what's the next level? Where do my mind has to transition to be able to grow economically? So I had to start looking at things outside of sports.
Okay.
And I started really locking in on the owners and trying
Mm-hmm.
to understand how did they acquire this wealth to own these teams and pay these players. So I had to start digging deeper into economics that what were never taught. Not the economics that you actually physically see. It's not a room you can just walk yourself in and learn these things. So I had to start really understanding how this guy get wealthy, how this guy get wealthy, how this guy get this money,
Mm-hmm.
and then start pursuing and focusing my mind on how to get to that next level. And for me, naturally, it was real estate. Because
Mm-hmm.
that was the number one thing that kept coming up: real estate, real estate, real
Mm-hmm.
estate, ownership, real estate. So that sort of prepared me to understand and start really thinking about economics, how money is made, how it's kept,
Mm-hmm.
where's that, um, and where I'm going to be comfortable shifting my focus in terms of that next stage of life,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is transition out of the NBA, but really grow my wealth,
Mm-hmm.
really grow wealth. Because I personally felt outside of the NBA, you can probably grow your wealth faster. That was prior to this whole new era of money. This
Yeah.
new era of money is like something just, I
Different.
don't think anybody could have ever thought it would go to these levels this fast.
Yeah.
Then, it was more so like, how can I take this money and now go to another level? And that's where my focus shifted to, and that's where it's been since retirement.
And you mentioned retirement. I know you obviously you play on a few teams in the NBA. Then you went back overseas too. You mean as far as the finish your career out over there? And it sounds like so. When you did you ever even you mentioned the whole economic piece, and it's just like us as blacks, it's crazy when we wasn't raised with certain foundations or being educated. And that's no knock on our parents or what have you. They just didn't know. So I think it's just one of those things here. Once we know it, like what we're gonna do with it and how we're gonna instill that with the folks underneath us as well is just like crazy important. So it's So it's great that you even mentioned that point, because sometimes folks ain't even thinking like that, like you were back then. Again, and I think even
Mm.
sitting with the owners or just kind of seeing how they move, that just shifts your whole thought process. And it sounds
Oh
like
yeah.
that's what that did.
Well, yeah. But it goes back. Every individual has a different goal,
Hmm.
and for some, this is enough. For some, they want to crack that next ceiling of
Yes.
economic success,
Hmm.
and they start shaping their mind. If that's what they want to do, then they're going to figure it out.
Hmm.
If they feel this is enough, no matter what it is, whether it's a 9 to 5 or whether it's being the manager of a company or being the owner, if that's the level they want to be at, then that's where most are going to stop in
Yeah.
terms of reaching ceilings or levels. Because this is where I want to be. I'm good here. And for some, they want it all. They want more
Yes.
economically, and that's what they're going to continue to pursue until they reach what they want. And
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what it was. I don't see a ceiling. The
Hmm.
ceiling is as high as you can access information.
Yes.
Information is the ceiling to me.
Hmm.
Um, is no there's no secrets. It's really information, and do you have access to those with the information?
Hmm.
Because once you can get the information, you'll be able to obtain that knowledge to now make your moves and do what you want to do. But
Hmm.
the
That's right.
information is still the biggest secret, the biggest hidden door that nobody could find.
Hmm.
And most of that information is either you're born in it or you run into somebody who happens to you're able to create a certain rapport with, and they have a certain liking for you,
Hmm.
and they're willing to share some information with you that
Yes.
you're just not gonna get. Can't get out of a book. You can get pieces and bits, but you really can't get it out of a book. Um,
Yeah.
it's somebody just sit you down and tell you something that was in front of your face all along, but you couldn't see it or you just didn't know how to do it.
Hmm.
But information is that's that hidden door. And if
Yeah.
you can get behind that door, everything else will open up.
Nah, nah, definitely, definitely. Now, is there some was "Make Me a Prodigy"? Was that part of the plan?
Make Me a Prodigy was my way of saying, how can I give back? How can I help?
Okay.
Um, what can I contribute back in towards my community or other communities? So when I started the nonprofit, Make Me a Prodigy, it was it wasn't just okay, somebody's hosting something and they would like you to come through and speak, or can you come and help out? That's easy to do.
Hmm.
But when you start your own nonprofit, it makes you more accountable. It puts you more so in that space every single day
Yeah.
of trying to figure out what can I do to help to make someone else's life better, or how can I set up an environment to pass information,
Hmm.
um, and it becomes more organic. So that was my whole reason behind making a prodigy.
Okay.
I wanted to be able to create an environment where I'm more so at the head of figuring out how to help others, how to help youth, and then do it really where it has nothing, where it has probably about 15% to do with sports and not much else.
Okay.
So for me, that's what it came down to. Sports was pretty much the driver.
Hmm.
The other 85% was everything that will propel you outside of sports.
Yeah. No, that's real, and I appreciate these jewels that you're dropping, because I think some people sometimes get blinded by all the other stuff here, but obviously just
Mhm.
what's important. A lot of stuff that you're saying here, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now I know even with sports, what's sports giving you that stuck with you to this day? Like what has it given you?
The thing sports gave me was the opportunity to compete.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter whether I'm in the basement and I want to finish out my basement. I'll go down there, I will compete and get the job done.
Yeah.
Whether I'm trying to make sure my kids are in the right situation, I'm going to compete to make sure that they're able to develop and succeed in life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's something's on my car.
Okay.
Do you want to go drop it off at an auto mechanic shop, or do you want to lift the hood up and get to competing
Mm-hmm.
and see if you can figure it out? Because there's things I don't like to do,
Okay.
but there's nothing I don't like not to know.
Yeah, I get
Know
it.
everything. Don't
Yeah.
mean I want to do it, but I want to know it. Because who knows when I will have to do it.
Right. Right.
So I'm one of those people. I want to know how to cook. I may not want to go cook, but if I know how to cook, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I never know when I might have to cook for myself.
Nah,
So it
that.
comes down to that kind of mindset, competition,
Mm-hmm.
always to compete. Discipline, that all fault. You can't compete without discipline. You need discipline. Being on time, always showing up. You got to show up in sports. So whether you're showing up for your family, your friends, your community, that's what sports teaches you. Show up, bring your
Mm-hmm.
A game,
Mm-hmm.
be accountable, and put your best foot forward. So no matter what happens, as long as you know you did your best, you can live with yourself. You can go back and work on things, but you'll be able to live with yourself while working on those things to improve on it, no matter what it is. You
Mm-hmm.
put your best, put forth your best effort.
Yeah.
And I would say, lastly, what sports gave me was the ability to meet different people, different races, social, economic, see the world in a different light than just Newark or where I was from, and then propel you to see how economics really moves and
Mm-hmm.
how the world responds. And what in I know people say money isn't everything. We all know it isn't. But when you live in a world that puts such high priority on money and the things it can do for you,
Mm-hmm.
or do for your family or your community, you have to figure it out. So being in sports and being able to go pro, it allowed me to understand the power of economics in a way where I tell people, I say, listen, you may not want to go make any more money for yourself. You may feel like you have enough. Well, go make some money for your community.
Yeah.
Go make some money for that nonprofit over there struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So sports gave me a different lens to just look at economics on so many levels and understand a lot of people just don't get educated the correct way because of economics. The money isn't moving through certain communities the way it's supposed to move,
Right.
to put certain things where it's supposed to be able to give you the education you need. That after school program that could be teaching real African Black history isn't there because
Mm-hmm.
there's no community center that's funded to teach that. You're only going to get the history they teach you in the schools. That there's no financial literacy program that teaches you from grade 1 through 12 and
Mm-hmm.
takes you through all the levels of finances. So when you do become an adult, you understand who really makes the money, how it really works, and you're ready to go play in that space. But there's no afternoon program designed for that. So I look at all those things that are missing that's keeping us from moving to the next stage. You know, we got crime, we got all those things, but a lot of that is precursor to what we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can teach a kid financial literacy and showing them levels as if it's the same way you learn at ABCs, 1, 2, 3s from day one. I'm sorry, but it's going to be far, far more kids who start understanding how economics work from a very young age. By the time they're in a position to start really making decisions for themselves, high school, going to college, they're going to be so much prepared, have so much more success. And that's going to deviate and cut out a lot of the things that goes on in their communities, because crime is nothing but a result of poverty. Get rid of poverty, you can get rid of crime. Because ain't no man running around or woman with a really good job, making good money, or business and making really good money, sticking up and shooting and selling drugs and doing things. That's all a resolution that came out of poverty. Let me figure out another way.
No, absolutely. I think not only poverty, but even I think just the awareness and education, some of the stuff you're alluding to, all that ties into it as well. Just
Real education.
What's that?
Real education.
Real, and because you mentioned the point even with the Black history. I mean, that stuff cool, man. Let's toss that to the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, let's bring in the real Black history. I do a lot of work around that as well, so I'm well aware, some of that stuff here. And again, and it's interesting you mentioning kids. I'm being a late father. I have a now 7-year-old, so it's just interesting just trying to hear some of the stuff that she's learning in school, even at this point. And to your point here, let's catch them early to when the time to make decisions, they're well informed and everything.
Yeah.
So it's major. It's major. And it's so important that we do that. We share what we know to those who don't know, and we continue to learn as well too.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And again, like I said, Anthony, I appreciate this time here. If you got a few more minutes for me, and I'll leave you alone.
No problem.
I'll leave you alone. So, just put you on the spot a little bit, man. Have some fun with some of these some questions here as we kind of wind down here. So, being a Jersey guy, you're a Parkway or a Turnpike guy.
Well, Parkway is more accessible to me.
Okay.
But I probably prefer the Turnpike. It moves a lot smoother than this doggone Parkway. I know Turnpike get congested, but Lord knows the Parkway can't.
Yeah, and I know the Parkway did away with some of the tolls too, so hopefully that'll lighten things up a little bit. So we'll see. Who knows? Now, Elizabeth Ave or Hawthorne Ave?
Woo! Elizabeth Ave. Okay, so I'm gonna ride with Elizabeth Avenue.
Okay.
Because Elizabeth Avenue connect me to more parts of the city.
Okay.
Hawthorne is more, this is my neighborhood right here. So I'm gonna take Elizabeth Ave. I can get to Weekway Park. I can get back over to where I live. Most of the breaks. I can move around a little bit more on Elizabeth Ave.
And also Elizabeth Ave, let me ask you, did you spend some time posting up at White Castles on a late night?
Absolutely. Even nights I had no business posting up at White Castles. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Gibson or Mayor James?
Ooh, well, got to give Gibson his props as being the first, of course.
Yeah.
James, the longest tenured, of course.
Yeah.
And then being that James was a former Southside Bulldog, Malcolm X alum.
Okay.
And he did give me the key to the city. I'm gonna have to ride with James.
All right. No, that's what it is. Dr. J is a Universal.
Dr. J's a university.
University
all day.
Okay.
On West Market University.
Okay.
Just going there, them jeans, them pants is all piled up on shelves.
Yeah.
Look like a orangutan ran through there. But you knew exactly where to go, reach up.
Oh, you did. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Universal. Yeah.
Bragman's or Cooper's?
See, now for me, it was neither one.
Okay.
Even though I was aware of both, it was neither one for me.
Okay. What was your spot?
My spot, mm, my spot was probably gonna be more so something right across the street that wasn't on their level, like
Okay.
a
Okay.
little sandwich shop that may not even be there the next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, see, Cooper's in them spots, man. I wasn't getting up there, man. I keep telling you, I walked everywhere. That
Yeah.
was too far for me. I wasn't going up. So for me, I was about to say White Castles, but I know where you're going.
Hmm.
That was like the closest for me, walking
Yeah.
to White Castles.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
get I can get the McDonald's downtown on Broad Street quicker than Cooper's.
Yeah. Nah, got you. Got you.
Yeah.
When you when you was able to move around a little bit here, Zanzibar sensations.
Ooh, ooh, man. So Zanzibar is the original king. We all know that.
Okay.
But when I came along, when I was at least able to start going out,
Okay.
you're looking closer to 89, 91 during my college time.
Hmm.
And say Sensation started becoming the go-to spot.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna give you this drawn out story. Zanzibar is the king. You know what I mean? Zanzibar is the
Yeah.
king. Sensation was the new kid in town.
Okay.
But you know, if you just looking at the history, then nothing touched Zanzibar.
Okay. Now
Zanzibar.
fair enough. I'll mix a little up to date stuff with a little old one here. Symphony Hall, NJ Pack.
Hmm. I mean, so now it's like saying Wilt Chamberlain or Shaq, old versus new. Um, so I'm gonna have to go with Symphony Hall.
Okay.
There's been legends who've come through Symphony Hall that are no longer here that will never go through the pack.
Hmm.
There've been events at Symphony Hall that don't even exist no more. So the pack will never be able to experience that. Um, I mean, you're gonna have to ride with Symphony Hall once again. Ask me 100 years from now, God's willing, I'm here.
Yeah.
You gotta ask me 100 years from now, Symphony Hall. The pack got a lot of years to catch up to the history of Symphony Hall and
Oh,
all
yeah.
the feet that then walked through that place and put
Hmm.
on performances and
Yeah.
shows. So,
Nah,
I'm gonna
absolutely.
ride with Symphony Hall from that standpoint.
Hmm. Now, what does a Newark Y mean to you?
That was the start. That was the start. For me, that was the start of big time basketball. That was
Okay.
the first time I seen what the next level really looked like. Walking in there, that's the first time I saw the Mark Bryants, the David Rivers of the world. That's when I saw that other level of high school ball, not the local level, but that other level.
Nah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I remember as a kid. Again, I know you got me by a few years. I just remember just being up in there, like 14 years old, watching like the 17 and under teams. I like this is. I was like, this is crazy. Who's like in this gym, up in the hot gym, up on the whatever
Mhm.
third, fourth floor, walking them steps.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said,
Mr. Wembley.
yeah, Mr. Wembley
Wembley
and
ran
B and Brian. Yeah,
I
yeah,
came right with him. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So it's just like I said, it was something to behold and something that sticks with me to this day. Just even have an opportunity to be down there to watch and
Yeah.
ultimately
A lot
play
of
at the lower
friends was
levels.
made. A lot of friends was made in that
Yeah,
place, man. It
yeah.
was it was actually it was because of North West. That's why I met Eric Murdoch.
Okay.
Providence went on to the league, played on 3 teams together. That's where I met Chris Gatlin at.
Hmm.
Um,
Now he's from
when
Elizabeth, right?
yeah, that's where I
Yeah.
met him at.
Hmm.
I mean, that's where I met Jay. I mean, yeah, the why,
Yeah.
the
Nah,
why question.
definitely the essence here. Now, just speaking of the why, I know even back then like AAU, like I said, everybody got a team now, but back then it was pretty much Newark Y and the Roadrunners for the most part here.
And in the road, and a lot of people don't know, the North Y, the North Y, there probably wouldn't have been a road runner. I was in my freshman year.
Okay.
It was the end of my freshman year, and they were putting a sophomore team together to go play in a tournament down in Virginia. Chris Gatlin, all those guys. And the guy, Sandy Payana, who trained me.
Mm-hmm.
He was a coach on that North Y team.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy wanted me to be part of the sophomore team. Mr. Wembley said, no, this is only for sophomores. Sandy really wanted me on that team. I was like his personal project.
Yeah.
I'm going to develop this guy. He got what it takes. So Mr. Wim was like, no. And I guess Sandy felt some kind of way because he felt I thought I had enough juice where if I'm saying this kid needs to be on this team, put him on this team, you would do it. It didn't happen. I didn't really care one way or the other. I wanted to be on the team, but I couldn't care one way or the other in terms of next year, this year, whatever. Moral of the story is, Sandy said, when I come back from Virginia, done. I'm leaving, start my own program. It's
Okay.
called Roadrunners.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get you to leave, and you're gonna come with me. I'm like, no problem, because for me, it wasn't so much about the name. Obviously, the Y was much bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but it was about, I understood it was about learning the game, how to play the game, skills.
Mm-hmm.
And Sandy was a teacher. So if I had to pick, I was gonna go with the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
someone who can teach me what I need to go to do skill-wise to play on them other levels. So I said, I'm riding with you. I don't care what the name is,
Yeah.
because you the one that's gonna give me them skills I need. So I had the insight, foresight to know, and you need the skills. Well, none of that stuff gonna matter if you ain't got the skills. Came back the next year, he left the Y, he started the Roadrunners. I was the first player for the Roadrunners. And that was going to my sophomore year. So Sandy was looking ahead.
Okay.
But he was also the main catalyst that had brought Franz Bosi, Ala Abdenabi,
Yeah.
Corey Floyd,
Mm-hmm.
Sean Worthy. Those
Mm-hmm.
was all Sandy guys that he had brought over to the North Y. And Sandy also had that relationship with Bobby Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the one that also had pretty much brought the Jersey City kids over to the Y.
Okay.
So when Sandy left that next year, starting that next year, going into my sophomore year of high school, that's when the Roadrunners was formed, where it was Allah, Franz Volsi and those guys was heading up the senior team.
Mm-hmm.
The team under that was myself, Jerry Walker, Bobby Hurley,
Okay.
Chris Chent from Sparta, went to Ohio State.
Lefty, yeah.
That was Corey Floyd, who went to Providence. That was Sean Worthy, went to Iona.
Mm-hmm.
That was all of us. But Sandy knew how to go recruit. He had no issue going to find players
Yeah.
and training you and putting that time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he did so well in an environment where he looked like an outcast. And that was the emergence of all that talent was supposed to have been with the North Y during that era, during that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it all went over to Sandy and the Y. But North Y held on to some talent. Eric Williams went over there.
Right.
My man Marquise Braggs went down there.
Mark Brown, those guys, yeah.
Mark Brown went down there.
Yeah.
But at that time, the Roadrunners was just, it was the Roadrunners was put itself in position because of Sandy, the way he would recruit.
Okay.
Where this is who I want. Everybody else can go to the North Y.
Mm-hmm.
But this is who I want over here. and he had an eye for talent.
Yeah.
Because all those guys, Franz, Allah, Danny, Terry the Head, Jerry Walker,
Mm-hmm.
we all went high level, Big East. A whole bunch of us made it to the league.
Yeah.
After that, you know, and I mean after that, not even immediately after that, but after that, you know, he was still grabbing guys like Randy Foye,
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
But traditionally, all of that was supposed to went right over to the North. Why? Had they just let me play on that sophomore team,
Wow, this history lesson, man.
never,
I never
it
knew how
would
that came about.
never, it would have never been a split up,
Yeah.
because Wembley was already slowly starting to move away
Okay.
and hand the reins over.
Okay.
And when Sandy left, then the only person that was really there to handle the reins was Brian Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Brian Crawford, not saying he wouldn't have been, but it's definitely how he became the #1 guy after Wembley.
Okay.
Sandy had already bounced.
Okay. Nah,
That's a
always
different
true.
history.
Yeah. Nah, that's good stuff. I never knew that's how that Roadrunner thing started.
That's how
Yeah.
the Roadrunner thing started.
Yeah. And then I had a couple more, but just even since talking the old AAU thing, how did you with your kids as far as with the whole AAU circuit? I know things you gotta evolve and do things differently a little bit, man. But what was your thoughts about it as you see
Well,
what it is today?
AAU has evolved to the point where it has its pros and its cons.
Right.
I think it has too many games now.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much focus and time at a very important stage that kids are putting into games and not developing skills.
Okay.
And it's very difficult to put kids in games and say, work on your game. When you playing a game in competition with refs, you only gonna go to your strength. You're gonna do what you do. You trying to prove something
Mm-hmm.
versus that time being, that focus and time being spent on developing skills and prepare you for that time when it comes, when you need to now go out on this court and prove something. So even in the summer times, those aren't skill practices. Those are basketball practices preparing you for games.
Mm.
You're not in there getting up thousands of shots. You're in there going through how to set the screen and roll to the basket, how to play the shell defense, how to move the ball where you're supposed to be. So it's so much skill development time being lost.
Mm-hmm.
That kids at a very young age who should be skill developing versus worrying so much about where the next tournament is and how they're going to impress who's ever watching. So that's my take on that.
Okay.
As far as then versus now, I think it was always politics in it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's going to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
When I came up, there was it's probably only, I swear, I can only remember, I don't think I can remember a single parent going to a game,
Mm-hmm.
let alone a tournament out of the state.
Yeah.
Now, mom, dad, uncle, everybody's at the practice, everybody going to the games, everybody want to say it's become so political now.
Yeah.
Where coaches are influenced, parents snatching kids off teams because it ain't going the way they want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Kids not learning that, or parents don't know there's levels to it, and there's gonna be times where situation ain't the way you want. You can't just run. You got to figure it out. So it's a lot of messages being lost. Kids going 4 or 5 schools.
Yeah.
Because the parent is the one saying, we out of here. He ain't playing you. We out of here. And they keep running into the same problems. Not knowing that in the real world, you're gonna run into some walls. Now you got to figure it out.
That's right.
Go get better or figure out what you're not doing that the coach needs you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's team to be successful versus these other reasons. Now, of course, there are certain circumstances where you should leave a team, but by and large, those aren't the cases. It's 55 million teams.
Yeah.
I like EYBL and what they did.
Okay.
They came in and said, we're going to just separate this and we're going to create our own thing in the midst of this jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out teams that should be in the EYBL, and we're going to attract top elite players. The downside is when we came up, it didn't matter how big or small your program was. If you were able to get in that tournament and pay that fee and get there, you can compete against the best.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, if you're not on an EYBL team, you're not going to play against those players because they only play in the EYBL tour.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no more Garden State tournaments, no more the New Jersey Nah, them dudes not playing that. They only playing EYBL or their Under Armour sponsored teams.
Yes.
So unless you play for a high school that plays high elite level basketball, and you run into those guys in high school, you can't run into that competition on the AAU circuit anymore. You have to be one of those sponsored teams by EYBL, Nike, or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah. Nah. I just definitely love the insight on that, because I mean, some people don't even think about a lot of things you just said. And again, it evolves and it's pros and cons with anything here. So I mean, you just got to make it work for you and your family and in your situation. Absolutely, yeah. Just to kind of swing back, kind of just to have some fun with you here. Shabazz of Seton Hall.
Ooh, Shabazz of Seton Hall. Man. Shabazz of Seton Hall. Well, I'm gonna have to ride with Seton Hall.
Okay.
Yes, I think it could have been weak weight. It could have been central.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna do what I was gonna do on the high school level.
Yeah.
But it was only one Seton Hall in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
One team in Jersey that was in the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
And so Seton Hall, you know what I mean? For those
and I'll keep it that way a little bit with this one. Lou Grimsley or PJ Carlissimo.
Sweet Lou is my man. So what are you talking about? As a coach?
Just in general. However, I mean,
again, a tie.
All right, we go with the tie here. Best game you ever played in your life on any level.
Best game I ever played in my life on any level. Best game I played in my life.
Does one just stick out?
That just stick out. I'm gonna have to go, man. I'm gonna have to go to the playground.
Okay.
Down in the hole.
Okay. Yeah, the hole. Yeah.
The hole.
Mm-hmm.
No holes barred. No referees. No coaches. And you know, when you play street ball, don't nobody double team.
Nah.
Dudes only cared about guarding their own man. If that.
Up, yeah.
So you got to operate. You got to be creative. You got to do things that some coaches will frown on and say that's not a disciplined play. definitely down in the hole, playing in the playground, no question.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it.
Is there any?
Geez, yeah.
Yeah. You know, Zoom for everybody. Now it's like it's an event. It's an event.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
Yeah. You all. Yeah.
High school, Elmwood Park, Branchville Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was definitely the street ball.
Yeah. Any game you like to have back?
Any game I would like to have back. I would like to have back my high school championship game against Bridgewater West.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to have that back.
Now you mentioned Eric Murdoch. And were they playing on that team? They weren't playing on that team,
Eric
were they?
Murdoch was on that
And
team.
Lance Miller, was he?
Lance and Dave Miller,
Yeah. Okay.
they were on that team. I like that game back.
Now did y'all lose big or was it close?
No, it was a close game up until the last, I want to say last 2 minutes.
Okay.
It started breaking away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to have a game back. Knowing what I know now, yeah, I like that game. Yep.
Who's best high school basketball player you ever seen?
Best high school basketball player I ever seen play.
Yes.
For me, I'm at the roll with my man Sweet Pea, Lloyd Daniels. I went and watched him play at Trenton High School back when I was a junior. I believe I was a junior. I went to Trenton High School to watch him play a high school game. And it was poetic justice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Your starting five on your to come out of Newark.
Starting five to come out of Newark. So I keep myself out of this, of course.
Up to you. Yeah, that's up to you.
Starting five to come out of Newark. I'm
You
gonna
can
make
mix it.
it.
You can mix the positions up and have fun
I'm
with
gonna make it where I can't go wrong.
it. Okay.
I'm gonna take Cleo Hill.
Okay.
I might not never see the ball. Cleo shot the ball. I'm gonna take Cleo Hill. I'll put Cleo at the 1. Now, this is a tough one. My 2-man spot is a tough one. But so I don't have to go through that, I'm gonna put Lonnie Wright at the 2.
Okay.
But instead of putting him at the 2, I'm gonna go ahead and put Lou Grimsley at the 3.
Okay. Got all South Side boys here. Okay.
So far.
Okay.
Because I mean, listen, and funny part is I'm not even thinking about Southside.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just thinking who was gonna be better than Cleo at the 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. You right
And
about
then
that.
if I move to the 2, the way he was built and defended and got off the floor and could shoot it, I'm like, I'm thinking of Randy Ford. I'm thinking of Lou, but I'm like, I don't know if they was better than Lonnie Wright.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not only did I see clips of Lonnie, I had to take into account the things he was able to do after high school, because it just verified that he was able to take that game on a much bigger stage and deliver.
Yeah. Stamped them. Yeah.
It stamped it. So because I wasn't in his era, I had to look at things that says, nah, he was bigger than just hooping in the city. His game traveled. So I have to look at that.
Okay.
And I have to throw that, I have to equate that because I wasn't there.
Okay.
But, you know, the way I heard about his ability to just flat out score. And I played him one-on-one when I was at Seton Hall. And I'm telling you, he busted my ass, use my language. And he old now. That was Lou Grimsley.
Yeah.
So, as crazy as it sounds, because naturally you would think of somebody maybe 6'6", 6'7", and put them at that spot. I'm gonna have to roll with Lou Grimsley.
Okay.
At the 4 spot, this is where it's not that it gets tough. It just really comes down to 2 guys. And one of the most skilled players I ever watched play the game was 6'7" Eric Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, I put a high emphasis on skills. Because when you put I played against a lot of athletic, gifted players. But when you're able to match up physically and you know where to be and what to do, you know how to cut off that athleticism and force them to play with skills. And then you realize they don't have skills. And all of a sudden, oh, dude can't shoot if he can't run by you.
Mm-hmm.
Dude can't score if he can't get a tip dunk or alley-oop, and you got a body on him.
Yeah.
So Eric Williams was a very, very, very skillful player. I got to throw Eric Williams in there.
And he looked like, and again, just from watching him play, like he worked hard. He worked hard.
He worked hard. He do go hard.
Yeah.
I'm about to put Eric Williams, big ass hands, the whole nine. We could rebound, first team all state, and I only can speak for what I know. And he had the right size to get it done. I'm gonna have to roll with Eric Williams. And the next person I'm gonna have to put on that list. Athletically, he's probably the most superior talent to come out of Newark athletically. It'd be hard for me to believe anybody ran, jumped, and had the athletic gifts of Edgar Jones. Personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about Edgar's skill level during that time. So now I'm back. Now I'm talking about jump hooks, turnaround J's, catch the ball, the high post of the zone, catch it, bang it, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The only person I know who could do that in high school, that I just know, who could come out of the post, come to the top of the zone, catch it, turn around and just shoot it, or who can play with his back to the basket and didn't have to dunk on you, just skills.
Mm-hmm.
That was me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just talking about what I know.
Right. No, absolutely.
So I give myself the edge over Edgar strictly off of skills.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking athletic powers, then Edgar supersedes everybody outside of maybe a Cleo. But
Okay.
Edgar had Cleo physical gifts at 6'10", you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's a
there's a
mean
lot of
list.
players that came out of Newark. My man Mo Layton.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard about guys like Bembry from Central. It's been so much talent. Wilbert from Weekway.
Mm-hmm.
I can go down the line.
Yeah.
But you asked me the top 5, and you can't go wrong if you took a guy out and put Randy Foye in. You can't go wrong if you took me out and put Edgar in. You can't go wrong if you took Eric Williams out and threw one of them other greats in.
Yeah. No, you can't.
I only can go by what I heard and what I seen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough question, man.
No, it's solid though. That's solid.
Tough.
It's tough, but it's fun. And the fun of it, obviously, you're gonna leave somebody out here.
Yeah.
You know, and it ain't no, it's no harm with
Ron Carnegie. The only reason I don't say Ron Carnegie is because of Cleo.
Mm-hmm.
And my list is only truly put together based on their high school and post-high school career. Because if I just left it up to just the high school, then I couldn't put a list together.
Got you.
Then
That's what you're saying.
I went to first team all state. It's a bunch of guys that made all state, so I couldn't use that list.
Mm-hmm.
So only thing I can look at is what's the closest thing to your high school career. That's you going off to college.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only way I can separate them is those who was able to then carry the game to a professional level, whether it was Europe or the NBA. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way I can create any form of separations when you talk about a city with that kind of tradition, those number of great players.
Speaking of teams, what's the best team you ever been on?
Seton Hall.
Okay.
Seton Hall Pirates, no question.
Now you the best to ever come out of Shabazz / Southside?
Nah, it's impossible for me to say that.
Okay.
I thought I was, because once again, I'm going by my era.
Right.
I didn't know nobody from the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. I came to Shabazz at 83. Only knew what I knew. I didn't see those guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, I'm 6'9", and I'm leaving my senior year. I'm averaging 21, 22, 19 rebounds and 9 blocks. I'm like a block shot away from averaging a triple-double.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my senior year is nobody was guarding me. Like, it was just not possible. You were going to put a guy in front of me and one behind me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the whole team when I caught the ball. So from a personal standpoint, I'm like, yeah, it's me. But then I kept hearing about a guy by the name of Cleo Hill. So
Mm-hmm.
my coach at the time, head coach, Archie Reynolds, said, you should see this guy, Cleo Hill. But by playing in the Big East, Ed became real close with a guy named Billy Packer.
Okay.
He had announcer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Started reading stories about him at Wake Forest and how they would play against this team in Winston-Salem behind closed doors. And he kept talking about this guy named Cleo. So I
Mm-hmm.
picked the phone up and I called him. I asked him, I said, yo, Billy, can you tell me something about this guy, Cleo Hill?
Yeah.
Like, Anthony, had he not gone through what he went through, he would have transcended the game like Magic and Oscar. He said he was MJ before MJ. He said dude played above the rim. He said cat quick. He said, Anthony, I've never ever seen anybody who could shoot the ball with distance and range with both hands. He said, I watched the guy score 15, hit 15 straight buckets, not points, just buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Just shooting a hook shot from the free throw line, just swinging them.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Game motion. He said, I watched this guy shoot hooks from the 3-point line and corners. He said, it's just incredible what the guy could do.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I said, okay, you don't have to say nothing else.
Yeah.
Because I needed somebody who's seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
Billy saw me in college. He saw me win the Big East championships.
Mm-hmm.
I needed somebody who's seen it all. That's why the best advice comes from history is your best teacher, and those who've seen history and are here to talk it is the people you really want to sit down and have a conversation with because they've seen both and they could tell you in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But Cleo Hill is the baddest thing to come out of Newark, not just Shabazz.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll change my mind when something come along that causes that change. Basketball, beauty of basketball is you don't have to be the tallest player to be the best player.
Right.
You don't have to be. The game is evenly distributed where guard can dominate or big can dominate. And it has proven itself throughout history, whether it was Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, Magic, Isaiah in the backcourt, Jordan, or whether it was Kareem, Wilt, and Hakeem and Shaq and those guys in the front court, or whether it was Dr. J, LeBron's and KD and Bird from the wing.
Mm-hmm.
So this don't have to be a certain position. Like football, they give the quarterback the golden treatment as being the greatest. So as in football, the greatest quarterback, they more times than not crowned as the greatest player ever, regardless of the defenders, the receivers, the running backs. If you are the greatest quarterback ever, then you're the greatest football player ever. But that's not how basketball work. You could be the greatest and then a guard, or big, or wing. So when you start looking at dudes like Cleo, who jump out the gym, you can't touch him, he that quick, could shoot anywhere with both hands, attack the basket, play above the rim.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you were the biggest, it's about you were the best. And from everything I see, you the best.
Yeah, and speaking of best or what have you, when you got to the league, you was like, is there anybody who was like, okay, he's as advertised? I mean, sometimes people get all, or whatever's marketing or whatever the hell the case may be, but
Well,
is it somebody like, oh, okay, he's as advertised, he's dead nice?
mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I know he played against Jordan and all that. That's the obvious.
I think you look for signs.
Okay.
Because nobody's going to come up to you and just do that and say that. It's a competition.
Mm-hmm.
So you look for little signs and clues. So for me, it was when I first went to the LA Summer League. Back then, the Summer League was in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, I was with Milwaukee. It was my first year. And we went out to LA for the Summer League. And Olden Polynice, I remember all these guys from Virginia Union back in college. They was in the league now. So now we're playing in the Summer League. And it was how they played me. It was the way they interacted with me where I said, yeah, I rock.
Okay.
Because the one thing I always knew when it comes to players, if we don't think you belong on the court, you're gonna know it.
Okay.
From the demeanor to the conversation, just the way we play you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you step on the court and a guy wanna get extra physical, that's him telling you, I don't think you can get physical back. I don't think there's nothing you can do. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna bully you right now.
I see what you're saying.
When
Yeah.
a guy knows you can hold your own, he knows that's gonna be returned on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you know what? I ain't gonna throw no low blow, because he's certainly gonna throw one. I ain't gonna do nothing dirty, because he's certainly gonna do something dirty. So I'm gonna play him by the rules. If I don't wanna get overly physical, if I don't want him to get overly physical, then I'm not. I'm just gonna play.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it was during that time in the LA Summer League. And then I guess when I was a freshman and Moses was on the team, Frank Kowski, Danny Shades, Ala Abdinabi, and Mike Dunleavy said, you're gonna start. I said, okay. That was it. That was really it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah,
That was
I
it.
could, man, I could totally see that. I could totally see that. Now, as far as I know you ripping and running, you do a lot of stuff here, but what do you do when you just have absolutely nothing going on here? Like, what is like kind of one of your things to do when you ain't got one of those busy, all over the place days here? Like, what do you like to do?
Well, my days are slowing down.
Okay.
And I don't force my day. I spend most of my time outside of, doing what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
All my extra time right now, outside of putting it on my son, who just turned 14 this year,
Mm-hmm.
who I think is gonna be bigger than me.
Yeah.
Handle the ball better than me, shoot better than me, got all the gifts. Everything went to him. Skipped all his brothers and everything went to him.
Mm-hmm.
So putting time in with him. Outside of that, I spent all of my time understanding cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and where the future is going, where the future is and where it's headed in terms of the whole global shift of how economics are going to be ran.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nah, absolutely. Always learning. Always learning. What's three of the best moments of your life up to this point?
The three best moments of my life?
Up to this point.
Three best moments. Wow. It's more than three.
Okay.
Three.
Oh, what are three? What are three? Rephrase
Guys,
that. I'll rephrase it. What are three?
I'll just tell you the best moments. The best moments is being able to look back at how I grew up.
Okay.
The struggle,
Mm-hmm.
but yet living in the projects where everybody was close knit. Having a mother that was able to bring me up through the church.
Mm-hmm.
So not putting the focus so much on religion, but putting the focus on discipline and structure.
Yeah.
Choosing Seton Hall as a school to attend,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing where my spirit and energy was going to be the most comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to propel myself and live the dream I wanted in terms of going to the next level of playing basketball. I can't so much say being drafted, because without going to Seton Hall and making those right choices, then that opportunity wouldn't have presented itself. That was just the reward of doing the right thing by going to Seton Hall and having the success we had,
Yeah.
making that decision. So that's more of a byproduct of that decision,
Okay.
being drafted. Being able to get my mom's a home.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's real.
that was a great feeling and moment. I would say obviously finding your significant other
Hmm.
and having your own children that you can shape, mold, and raise so that they can go back out here and be contributors to society,
Hmm.
play a role in making it a better planet. So
Nah,
that's a highlight for sure. And
definitely.
I'll probably say the last thing for me at this stage, the last thing for me is being able to acquire information and certain knowledge
Hmm.
and know that I've passed it on and am passing it on to others who are benefiting from it
Hmm.
and making their lives better.
Yeah. Nah, definitely. Well, like, what's the use of holding on to it? You know what I mean? Like, nah, absolutely. Now, what's the best part about being Anthony Avent?
The best part about being Anthony Avent is knowing that 99.9 of the decisions that I made were my decisions, regardless of whether they went good or bad.
Mhm.
I can say I influenced, I made those decisions.
Yeah.
And,
Nah,
and
that's
for
that's
me,
real.
that's the best thing. 'Cause I'll be torn up knowing I made a lot of decisions, whether they went good or bad, but it was others' decisions forced upon me.
Hmm.
Because that would be hard. That would be hard for me because that would tell me you just didn't have the mental strength and fortitude to make a decision and live with it regardless of where it went.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it's being able to make decisions um, for better or worse, knowing they were my decisions.
Nah, that's real. That's real. And my last one is what advice would you this Anthony give that 17, 18-year-old Anthony? What advice would you give him?
The advice I would give him is wow, what advice would I give a 17, 18-year-old? The advice I would give a 17, 18-year-old Anthony. The advice I would give a 17, 18-year-old Anthony would probably be before you go off to college, go back, go to go somewhere else for a year and run the point guard position
Okay.
for the
Okay.
entire year.
Yeah.
Just play the point position. Because I always wanted to be Magic,
Yeah. Okay.
but
Okay.
no coach will put me in the position. You're the biggest dude on the team. But I
Hmm.
spent so much time in the gym developing ball handling skills, but could never utilize them in games, mature it, develop the confidence to use it the way you need to use them in games and understand how to see the game from a different lens. That's the only thing I would tell Anthony.
Man, that would have been scary.
Go
That
to
would have
another
been.
school, go to a prep school, do whatever you have to do. Go to
Hmm.
the sorriest school in all of the land. Do anything you got to do.
Hmm.
Where they're gonna let you be the point guard for the whole year, so you can learn the nuances
Hmm.
of handling the ball out in space, defenders, smaller defenders crowding your body, and then take everything else you already know how to do, and then bring that all into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Nah. Yeah, that would have been scary. That would have been scary. I just want to say, and again, I've kept my cool this whole time, but like I said, inside, like I'm like like super fanned out, man. You were like a superhero to a lot of us, just
Appreciate it, man.
your exploits, everything you've done. But I think just even this little bit of time here, just to hear more about you and your thought process and everything else, even just brings to light to me even more of why you was that superhero. At least to me, I'll speak for myself here. You mean
Thanks.
you allowed that rock to just take you not all over the world, but also learn some things that you've applied to your life, and I'm sure to your family as well too. And while I, I know, talking even to Coach Grimsley, I know he talked about how much of a leader you are, and you could just tell that it just pours out. Just me sitting here listening to you. He mentioned that from day one, just how much of a leader you were back then, and like I said, that's even the testament to yourself today, man. And I just, again, you being officially you somehow, somewhere directly helped me be officially me, man. And like I said, one,
Appreciate
thank
that.
you for all the joy that you've given myself and others here, just throughout, your travels and things that you've done here. I just, again, I honestly just want to say thank you. I'm like completely like fanned out, but I'm keeping my composure. I'm not running around, I got no pom poms or nothing here, but I'm inside it. I'm just so excited that I've had opportunity to sit here and talk to, somebody from around the way. And I said in the beginning before you came on, just kind of like you all person that lived their dream out, and it's okay to dream, but you got to work hard to make those come to fruition and come to light
Mhm.
here. And that's exactly what you did. You talked about having a plan from high school, like, hey, I need to get to the league, and this is what I'm gonna do to get there. And then even how you just tied it up too, like you can look yourself in the mirror because decisions you said 99.9 of them you made them, and you can look yourself in the mirror and not hang your head down, based on that. And
Mhm.
like I said, that's just something a lot of all of us should do whenever possible because it's our lives. And I think you've lived it to the
Absolutely.
best of your ability, and you got a whole lot more living to do. But Anthony, man, thank you for all you've done for not only myself but
Man,
everybody else, man.
appreciate you, and I'm glad we were able to connect, man.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Nah, thank you, man. And
Yep.
I know it's a small world or what have you, man. But like I said, I just hope. I mean, there might be some communication along the way here. It's interesting. You got some things
Well,
going on. I could talk offline or share some
yeah,
stuff
we'll
offline.
definitely talk offline. Just to put it out there, but we'll definitely talk offline. I was talking to Bob Lester. I know he's down in, I think he said South Carolina,
He's down in Georgia. He's down in Georgia.
Georgia. I was
Yes.
talking to him before everything came to a crash, and I was starting to work on a all city league dinner,
Okay.
and we was looking to bring back everybody we can that's alive,
Yeah.
that was part of the city league from all eras,
Mm.
and just celebrate the city league
Yes.
with every
Yes.
school represented. And we're gonna, sort of find a captain from each school that would organize his school and those influential individuals, and we're gonna all come back together and just reminisce on the city league. Um,
Yeah.
but
Nah, that would be.
hopefully we'll
Yeah.
still be able to do it once everything clear.
Yeah. Nah, that'd be great. And I think too, the other reason I do this too is just kind of a few reasons, but one of the main ones, as you were just sharing that, just like our lives ain't over. I mean, those who might have been that dude, that girl back then,
Hmm.
it's, I mean, we
Hmm.
all have our bumps and our bumps in the road or what have you. But it's
Of
like
course.
let's get up off this couch. Let's stand up. Like our lives ain't over here. Let's. I mean,
Oh, it's far
you still
from over, man.
yeah.
Far from over.
You still that dude. You still that girl. You know what I mean? As far as to get to it here. So
Absolutely.
so that's
Far
another
from over.
reason I just do this so people hear it, or whether it's the person I'm talking to or the people
Hmm.
that's hearing it. Let me like damn, I did score on Anthony that one time. I'm okay. Let me get my butt up and figure the rest of my life out here.
There you go,
You feel me?
man. You got a
Yeah,
whole life to go. Yep.
absolutely. But again,
All right, fam.
thanks for your time, family, and I appreciate it.
All right, Evan.
All
God
right, you
bless.
be likewise. All right,
Peace.
peace. Yeah, it's been great. This has been great. I appreciate Anthony's time here. I know, like I said, I know he's a busy man, but just to hear, his come up and his thought process through all this and just the work he put in, the hard work he put in. Like I mean, it's just a testament just being, a Newark native and that's just how it goes. And with that being said, I'm just slide out on this. I put my hand over my heart That means I feel you. Yeah.